This woman snapped a hacksaw in half, hid it inside a pile of ground beef, spread it evenly and covered it with plastic wrap, then placed it in the freezer overnight. The next day at work, she handed it off to Mark through a friendly prison guard. Mark opened the package right in front of the guard. Seeing it was just a box of ground beef, the guard left without any suspicion. Mark used a mirror to confirm no one was watching, then quickly thawed the beef with water, pulled out the hidden hacksaw, and began prepping for his escape plan. He unraveled a long strip of toilet paper, snapped a whole box of matches, and tightly wrapped the match heads inside the paper, then hid the bundle in a packet of instant noodles. Mark went to the inmate recreation area and signaled to an accomplice on another floor. The two handed off the bag while passing each other on the stairs. While everyone was gathered downstairs, the accomplice secretly lit a fire in the cell next to Mark's. After he left, the flames quickly spread. Once the alarm sounded, guards rushed in and put out the fire, but the room was now blackened with smoke damage and needed to be repainted, which was exactly what Mark had planned. Mark handed the hacksaw to David so he could start building their escape tools. David expertly wrapped both ends of the saw blade with cloth, then snapped it again in the middle to shorten it. He took out a nail clipper and attached the saw blade with rubber bands, then wrapped the handle in thick cloth for grip. Soon they had two solid tools ready to go. He secretly passed one of them to Mark. During the day when other inmates were outside, one would pretend to paint as a lookout, while the other stayed in to saw through the ventilation duct. They were even prepared for the falling metal shavings. A row of small magnets wrapped in craft paper was placed on the floor to collect the debris, which they then flushed down the toilet. To reduce noise from moving the bed, they had soundproofed the bed legs, taking turns. The two worked in shifts, and in just half a month, they successfully cut through the vent. To avoid detection, they taped the opening shut, painted over it, and once it dried it was completely invisible. At night, they first checked for safety using a mirror, then made a dummy out of clothes, peeled off the tape, opened the vent, crawled out carefully, reset the bed, and pulled down a painting to cover the hole. The two of them crept through the ventilation system, tiptoeing all the way to the bottom. It was pitch black, but they couldn't hide their excitement. They followed the duct deeper and deeper, walking for what felt like forever without seeing the end. Mark suggested they split up to scout. The next day, they carefully mapped the area they'd reached the night before. Then at night, they went back to find the exit. This time David ventured even deeper, and finally saw the prison's outer wall, but a concrete wall was blocking the path. David reported the situation to Mark, telling him they'd need a hammer to break through. Mark told him there was a backup toolbox under the entrance to the duct. That night, David found the toolbox, and inside were the tools he needed. He grabbed a sledgehammer and began smashing the wall. Day after day, David kept hammering. He had no idea how many walls he broke through, until he finally reached the prison's outer wall. But this wall was over 2 meters thick reinforced concrete. Seeing it, David thought about giving up. At this rate, it would take at least 3 years to break through. But after all the planning, Mark urged him to just give it a try. So David kept hammering every night, even though after a full month, he'd only made a small hole. His hands were covered in wounds, and again he considered quitting. At this pace, they'd get caught before finishing the job. Seeing this, Mark encouraged him once more. If you stay focused on one thing, you'll succeed. Then one night, while hammering the wall, David made a shocking discovery, something that could help them escape much sooner.